Shalom, shalom, family. Shalom, shalom. Welcome everyone once again to another Torah review. My name is Uziah Lewy. I'm one of the teachers of Congregation BINAH, CHOKMAH, BINAH, located in the Red Hook section of Brooklyn, New York. Thanking the Creator of heaven and earth for all things and everything, food, clothing, and shelter, wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, the ability to see, smell, taste, the ability to be able to walk and speak. Thanking the Creator for all things and everything. Like I said, we're here for another Torah review. This time we'll be reviewing the portion Beha'alotcha, which is found in the book of Numbers, Bamidbar, Numbers, which is the fourth book of the Torah. Thanking the Creator of heaven and earth once again. And for that, as we always do on a weekly basis, we have one of my teachers, Nasik, Zurishaddai ben Yehudah. How are you, Nasik?
All right. Baruch Hashem, I'm thankful, and feeling good. First of all, let's give praises to the Supreme Son Universe, God of my forefathers, God of Abraham, God of Yitzchak, God of Yaakov, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Through a special platform I'm on, which is D.C.B platform, Chief Prince Ariel, and a host, Chief Uziah, and all the princes, chief brothers and sisters, and the rabbis, Maureen, Kohani, preacher all the time of forefather Shalom Aleichem, and an early Shabbat Shalom. It's an honor and pleasure to be able to share and basically review over the Sidra that we have, Beha'alotcha. I know last time I spoke, I was going over Nasik, which I spoke on. That was really the longest Sidra in those scriptures, especially when it talks about the princes of the tribes offering at the dedication of the Mishkan, the tabernacle. We noticed that Nasik really starts off about, and speaks on about getting the uncleanness out of the area of the camps. And I spoke on last time about the three types of uncleanness. Talks about uncleanness of a person that has an issue, one that's unclean by the dead, and one that has unclean with sara'at, which most books translate as a leprosy. Now, and traditionally, they try to allude to those three different uncleannesses and related to pretty much the garden story. Traditionally, they try to classify the part of the dead as Adam after he ate of the forbidden fruit. All mankind was doomed to die. So, and they allude to that, and I'm gonna touch on something a little bit later on, and skimming through that. Then when they talk about the issue, they talk about the women. Women normally have issues, but men can have an issue as well. But on a normal basis, regular women will go through a cycle every month. So they tend to have an issue on a regular basis. And that's what caused them to be excluded from certain things. And last but not least is Zara'at. They look at that as the serpent. It's because the serpent is one creature that tends to shed its skin constantly. And usually a person with Zara'at, it's always a skin ailment, skin being lost. It has to do with the skin itself being either renewed or brought back. So that's one viewpoint they look at in reference to the uncleanness that you're trying to tack it onto the Genesis itself, the garden story. Now, when we talk about the offerings of the princes and stuff, each one of the offerings, has, though they offer up the same offering, they offer the same offering for a different reason in their life, but they have one commonality. And when the gematria for, one of the offerings comes up in 930, that's the age that Adam lived to. Then when you look at different offerings, which I'm just running off the top of my head right now. When you talk about the spoons and the base and the basins and stuff like that, you come up with these different numbers of 70, 120, and so when you come up with these numbers like 70, that's usually the relationship to the 70 souls that actually went down to Egypt, and also when you look at there's always alluded to the 10 men, and then when you look at the 120, that's related to pretty much when how long man was slated before the flood came. And you look at another element of gematria, and you got like a 520 in there, and that's when supposed to be related to when Noah supposed to have his children. And these are things that just running off the top of my head in relationship to the numbers that's extrapolated from the offerings of the 12 princes that gave a dedication at the tabernacle on a particular day. And it was so unique that the creator could have had the book state that they all gave the same thing, but it's enumerated because you may be giving this for one reason, another person may be giving it for another reason. But one of the things I'd like to point out within that dedication, that when it talks about the tribe of Yehudah, Nachshon is one of the guys that's not even called and recognized as a prince in that particular area there. And it went by the order of the standards of the camps. Went from the eastern camp first, south camp second, and then the western camp, and then the third camp. And it's important to realize that the dedication took place in the month of Aviv, because it gives you a correlation and ties into some of the stories that we deal with in Beha'alotcha. Because if it started on Rosh Chodesh of the month of Aviv, some people might say Nisan, then you figure everyone giving an offering, a dedication on that day. We will finish actually on the 12th of Aviv, 2 days before Pesach, that we actually finished. And we dealing with the chronological time for each prince given on a day. And the tribe of Ephraim gave on the 7th day. There's some traditions that say, why did he come up with the princes of a tribe, the top prince? And yet, why they all gave silver? Why they just gave an ox? Why didn't he give a lot more? When you read at the dedication of the temple in Solomon time, you say, wow, what these princes and nobles gave up was astronomical compared to what these guys gave up in the wilderness at this particular time. But I'm not going to be labeled that. I'm going to try to cover a few stories, but if questions come up in reference to those areas, I will answer in a future time. But now, when we go into Beha'alotcha, when you light the lights, like the menorah or the candles, it's after all the tribes gave their offerings for dedication, that the tribe of Levi, who's already going to be singled out, they themselves has nothing to really offer on the particular day, because each one was given a date by the creator, not them arbitrarily choosing a day. So this was designed by the creator, because one guy said, well, why should you go up first? Why can't I go up first? But all of them tribes that gave a dedication, it says on their day, that let you know that it was picked not by them, but by the creator themselves, to say, this tribe brings this on this day. So that's pretty much important. But like I'll give you what they call a hasikun, which is a summary of Beha'alotcha in the beginning, because I know I'm not going to cover everything. I'm just going to highlight a few points within Beha'alotcha and within this Sidra, which normally starts from the eighth chapter of Numbers, going to the 12th chapter, 16th verse. So first, some descriptions of the 7 branches of the the menorah. That's what it starts off with. And then the dedication of the Levites, who's actually being dedicated to the Creator in place of the firstborn. Then we speak about the second Pesach or Passover. And then we talk about the journey from Sinai to Moab. Then the murmuring of the children of Israel, the appointment of the 70 elders to assist Moses. And then last, but not least, Miriam and Aaron speaks against Moshe, Moses, their brother. That's the last one is what I'll be focusing on in my talk, but I'm just going to skim through the first portion of this particular portion. All right, so we're going to start off just from the beginning. Hallelujah. All right. Yeah, 8th chapter, first verse.
We're in the book of Numbers, chapter 8, verse 1, and it reads, Hallelujah. And Yehudah spoke unto Moses, saying, Speak unto Aaron and say unto him, When thou lightest the lamps, the 7 lamps shall give light in front of the candlestick. And Aaron did so. He lighted the lamps thereof, so as to give light in front of the candlestick, as Yehudah commanded Moses.
Okay, now what I like to focus on in that is that how do you light it? Do you start at this end? Do you start in the middle? You start on the other end? Or you start from the opposite side, closer to the Holy of Holies? Well, we get a note right here that you must face it and be in front of it as you approach it. So one, you're told to light from that side. And also when you're told to light, they say, well, traditionally now, all we know from the text that we got to stand in front of it and we got to light it, and we have to use the same light that we lit the first one with. That's what we light the next part of the branch with. Now, rabbinically, they have an order that that they say, and then they draw from that. And pretty much like we do those that have a conical lamp in their house, they would light the shamash, and then they would start on one side and work their way to the middle. But unlike the Hanukkah candle that are used for Hanukkah, which has actually 8 branches to it, or 9 pretty much, in a sense, that the menorah that's used in the tabernacle is having 7 branches. But what's interesting here is that it's made in one piece. Now, very few objects in the tabernacle was made in one piece, and it's made in one piece and beaten, and that teaches a subtle lesson. When you say, why is it got to be beaten out of one piece? Why can't you just go ahead on, and why didn't the Creator just say, look here, make 7 branches, weld them together, heat them up, mesh them together, and come up with this here menorah, this lampstand. And one of the lessons that is derived from it is that the other parts, well, before we get to the lesson, and one of the message behind it is that the tabernacle itself is usually assembled in pieces. You got boards here, you got curtains here, you got sockets here. So all those are different pieces. And you got to cut the boards out. You got to weave and make the curtains and cut them out to a degree. You got to melt and whatever it is you do to make those sockets and tent pegs, that those together. But certain items had to be beaten into existence. So that's what we actually doing, is actually extrapolating the holiness and the virtue out of the object and giving it more value, because we know gold has a value on its own. But just having a chunk of gold is not having it when it becomes an item that you can further appreciate other than it looking like a rock. So we ourselves, sometimes as Israelites, what we do, You know, we got to beat our heads. We got to work on ourselves to try to extrapolate the most valuable essence of our own soul and our own being. So these are some of the lessons you can learn from those items that's made of one piece, that it had to be beaten out. It's not going to be an easy job. It's going to be a difficult job, but you can emerge, you know, a more valuable product by working on yourself. That's one of the lessons that's taught in here. And this is one of the first things that's done before the whole service take place in the tabernacle is lighting the menorah. Then the day begins. We have a prayer, we say prayer for light. That's usually the first, one of the first blessings, you know, you're coming through when you do a normal traditional prayer. So now I'm gonna skip on down the concentration to the fifth verse, second chapter. Yes.
We go into verse 5. And Yehudah spoke unto Moses, saying, take the Levites from among the children of Israel and cleanse them. And thus shalt thou do unto them, to cleanse them. Sprinkle the water of purification upon them, and let them cause a razor to pass over all their flesh, and let them wash their clothes and cleanse themselves. Then let them take a young bullock, and his meal offering, fine flour mingled with oil. Another young bullock shalt thou take for a sin offering. And thou shalt present the Levites before the tent of meeting, and thou shalt assemble the whole congregation of the children of Israel. And thou shalt present the Levites before Yehudah, and the children of Israel shall lay their hands upon the Levites. And Aaron shall offer the Levites before Yehudah for a wave offering from the children of Israel, that they may be to do the service of Yehudah.
Okay, right there. Stop it. Just good enough right there. That's enough in that area. All right. Now we're gonna skip down to the 16th verse, and it's still talking about the Levites, but 16th verse, same chapter.
Verse 16 reads. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, for their giving. Yeah,
verse 16 reads. For they are wholly given unto me from among the children of Israel, instead of all that openeth the womb, even the firstborn of all the children of Israel, have I taken them unto me.
Okay, that's good enough right there.
All right.
All right. You know, that's from the Egyptian period. Now, what was interesting, I spoke on it in the past, but I'll speak on it again, is that now, just letting you know that this book is not in a chronological order. Because now they're sanctifying the Levites, but yet we already read about the dedication of the tabernacle. So sometimes, and I can't emphasize this enough. Sometimes when we read the book, we look at, say, chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, and we think all the time it's in a chronological order. But the scriptures don't always be in a chronological order. It has an order of importance. That's what they deal with, the order of importance, and make it relative for you to focus on certain spots, certain aspects at certain times. Because, and to support my position more, if the Levites wasn't sanctified, then how the persons function and bring their dedication. That's on that. So then you say, sanctified from what? You know, why would be the reason for the Levites to be sanctified? Well, we read earlier, and we can touch on it briefly. We read earlier in history, not just only that they're going to be cleansed to serve and represent the firstborn, but at the sin of the golden calf, they had to kill a lot of people. All the tribe of Levi drew near unto Moses when Moses said, after he came back down from the mount, all those on the lower side over here. So now that brings out another thing about chronological order, because if they had slayed these people, and we know when the tabernacle was erected, and I spoke on when it's considered holy and when it's not considered holy, and we also know what day the cloud came upon, then that gives you a chronological viewpoint and where you can envision when certain things is being done. by Levites because they had to be clean from the dead, purification of the dead, and hence we're gonna speak on other little areas there, but they go through a similar ritual, not only of that of the dead, but almost like not like I wouldn't say one that has Zera'at, but they also be shaving their hair, shaved and clean and everything like that there, and they sprinkle with water of purification in order for them to serve, and it's the Levites. But we're gonna move on just from that just a little bit, all right? And I want to speak on. We're going to go into the ninth chapter of Numbers. And we'll be taking it from the first verse.
From the first verse?
Yes.
All right. Numbers chapter 9, verse 1. And Yehudah spoke unto Moses in the wilderness of Sinai in the first month of the second year after they were come out of the land of Egypt, saying, Let the children of Israel keep the Passover in its appointed season. In the 14th day of this month at dusk, ye shall keep it in its appointed season, according to all the statutes of it, according to all the ordinances thereof, shall ye keep it. And Moses spoke unto the children of Israel, and that they should keep the Passover. And they kept the Passover in the first month on the 14th day of the month at dusk in the wilderness of Sinai, according to all that Yehudah commanded Moses, so did the children of Israel. But there were certain men who were unclean by the dead body of a man, so that they could not keep the Passover on that day. And they came before Moses, before Aaron on that day. And those men said unto him, We are unclean by the dead body of a man, wherefore are we to be kept back, so as not to bring the offering of Yehudah in his appointed season among the children of Israel? And Moses said unto them, Stay ye that I may hear what Yehudah will command concerning you.
All right, now I want to focus on that last, that's good right there. All right, I'd like to focus on that last verse. And Moses said unto them, Stay ye that I may hear what the Lord will command concerning you. Now, don't Moses know that if you're unclean, you can't offer the Passover? So, and that's, you say, well, would that be a rhetorical question? You know, because if you're unclean, you can't bring an offering while you're unclean to the house. So, and then they saying they unclean with the nefesh adam, with the nefesh adam, that they unclean from that, and that's what they're unclean from in reference to that. So like to say the soul of a man, and tracing it back to Adam, say, and there's a lot of controversy on what that means there. I don't want to focus on that because just for the sake of time. If questions come up about it later on, then I'll explain some of the comments on it. But they mentioned that at this particular time. Now, this is right after the 2 days of the dedication. Then, and the first Passover they're going to ever observe that you read about in the book is in the second year. And that's when they had erected a tabernacle within that month. And the princes and chiefs had already, the princes of the various tribes had already made their dedication. And they finished on the 12th day. So the Levites had already been purified before that time. So now we know about what happened that first day. And that first day, we know on the most holiest day, the holy day and the most exciting day of Aharon's life is that he lost 2 of his sons. Tradition has it now, and that's just doing it because, with the connection of certain things in the book. It's nothing that could prove definitively, but tradition has it that they're talking about when Nadab and Abihu was killed and slain by offering strange fire for the Lord, that these particular guys, Elishphan and Mishael, had to bring their cousin out, out, and in their tunics, bring them out because they were slain, and the festivities had to go on. But we don't read about them being purified at that time. You say, well, okay, normally it brings out a lot of other questions. When did they get the law of the red heifer and the Adama? Then they had it for a while. Then why it took these guys a while to do what they need to do? So that brings a lot of different questions to the equation. But that's one viewpoint that tend to be a popular viewpoint because it's only certain men and not a lot of people that's unclean by the dead at this particular point in time. And so, it's always, the missing pieces that we look at and, make you say, let me think about that for a moment. So as we move forward just from that this is what the reply comes from the Creator, 9th verse.
Verse 9 of the same chapter, it reads, And Yehudah spoke unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, If any man of you or of your generation shall be unclean by reason of a dead body, or be in a journey afar off, yet he shall keep the Passover unto Yehudah. And the 2nd month on the 14th day of dusk, they shall keep it. They shall eat it with unleavened bread and bitter herbs. They shall leave none of it until the morning, nor break a bone thereof. According to all the statute of the Passover, they shall keep it. But the man that is clean and is not on a journey and forbeareth to keep the Passover, that soul shall be cut off from his people, because he brought not the offering of Yehudah in his appointed season. That man shall bear his sin.
Okay, I want to stop right there just for a minute. All right. Out of all the appointed Shalom Regalim, the 3 appointed times all males appear before the Creator, you can only get cut off for not observing Pesach. If you don't keep Shavuot, you just don't keep Shavuot. You don't keep Sukkot, you just don't keep Sukkot. But if you don't observe Pesach, it's a penalty. That's how important it is that the Creator gave you a second time to observe this. And like giving gratitude for our redemption. So when people say, well, I'm not observing the day of Passover, we know we can't bring the offering, but I'm not even going to observe the day, then that's even serious. That's a serious attitude of ingratitude, because this is the only day, that, we don't keep Shabbat, you put to death. You know that already. You cut off on, if you don't afflict the souls, you could be cut off on Yom Kippur. That's serious. But on the pilgrimage times, that all males must appear. And then that's why we read more about the Passover in the book than we read about any other holy day or Shalom Regalim that people observe. You read so much about that, they say, look, this is the way to get yourself back together. Let's start off observing this. Let's start off bringing out the attitude of gratitude for what the Creator did for our forefathers back then. So that's, so much so that we're doing the second Pesach now, and they say he had to get rid of the leaven in his house. But when he ate of that sacrifice, he had to have the sacrifice done the same way, and he got to eat it with bitter herbs and unleavened bread. But he had to clean out his house or anything like that. He just had to be able to bring the offering and sit down and eat it the way it's described according to the book. So we're gonna move on just from there, and we're gonna go to the 15th verse, same chapter.
Going to verse 15 of the same chapter. Give me 1 second. Verse 15 of the same chapter reads, And on the day that the tabernacle was reared up, the cloud covered the tabernacle, even the tent of the testimony. And at evening there was upon the tabernacle, as it were, the appearance of fire until morning. So it was always. The cloud covered it, and the appearance of fire by night. And whenever the cloud was taken up from over the tent, then after that the children of Israel journeyed, and in the place where the cloud abode, there the children of Israel encamped. at the commandment of Yehovah, the children of Israel journey, and at the commandment of Yehovah, they encamp. As long as the cloud abode upon the tabernacle, they remain in camp. And when the cloud tarried upon the tabernacle many days, then the children of Israel kept the charge of Yehovah and journeyed not. And sometimes the cloud, sometimes the cloud was a few days upon the tabernacle, according to the commandment of Yehovah, and they remain in camp, and according to the commandment of Yehovah, they journey.
Okay, all right. That's good enough. So when people say wandering, that's like, unless you're using it like maybe a parable, a metaphor, or something like that there, we was never lost. We moved when the Creator wanted us to move, where He wanted us to move to. And so we was never lost in the wilderness, in a real physical sense. Now, some of us might have lost our minds, lost our way in a spiritual sense. But when we travel exactly where the Creator wanted us to go. What is unique, and in 22nd verse it says, whether it were 2 days or a month or a year, the cloud tarry upon the tabernacle, abiding thereon, the children of Israel remained in camp and journey not. But when it was taken up, they journeyed. And at the command of the Lord, they encamped, and at the commandment of the Lord, they journeyed. They kept the charge of the Lord at the commandment of the Lord by the hand of Moshe. Now, this chapter, the 10th chapter, tells us how we begin our journey. Because now we know it's time to move. We know the cloud moved. But then how do we break camp? So the 10th chapter explains how we get ready to break camp and what's important about breaking camp. But it also talks about some holy vessels, another set of holy vessels. All right. The 10th chapter of Numbers, first verse.
Numbers chapter 10, verse 1. And Yehovah spoke unto Moses, saying, make thee 2 trumpets of silver, of beaten work shalt thou make them. They shall be unto thee for calling of the congregation and for causing the camps to set forward. And they shall blow with them. All the congregation shall gather themselves unto thee at the door of the tent of meeting. And if they blow but with one, then the princes, the heads of the thousands of Israel, shall gather themselves unto thee. When ye blow an alarm, the camps that lie on the east side shall take their journey. And when thou blow an alarm the second time, the camps that lie on the south side shall set forward. They shall blow an alarm for their journeys. But when the assembly is to be gathered together, ye shall blow, but ye shall not sound an alarm.
All right, stop right there.
All right.
All right, first of all, it's only 2 calls. The camp on the south, and the camp on the east side, which is Yehudah, they break out first. And then the tribe, the standard bearer and the camp in the south, Reuben, he break out second. But there's no call for the people in the west, which is Ephraim, the standard bearer, and no call for the tribe up north, Dan, which was the standard bearer, to pull out. And it goes, but it's going to explain itself a little bit, and if need be, I'll point out some stuff. I'm just going to try to speed up just a notch. So you could continue from there.
Verse 8. And the sons of Aaron, the priest, shall blow with the trumpets, and they shall be to you for a statute forever throughout your generations.
All right.
1 second right here. All right.
All right.
And when ye go to war in your land against the adversary that oppresseth you, then ye shall sound an alarm with the trumpets, and ye shall be remembered before Yehovah your God, and ye shall be safe from your enemies. Also in the day of your gladness, and in your appointed seasons, and in your new moons, ye shall blow with the trumpets over your burnt offerings, and over the sacrifice of your peace offerings, and they shall be to you for a memorial before your God. I am Yehovah your God.
Okay, all right, that's good. Now, that's another item that's made of one piece, and it's beaten out, and it's silver. and it's beaten out of one piece. You know, that's the register, you know, and that's the call for several things, for the princes, the leaders to come together, for the feast days, for if you're going to get ready to move out, and also over the sacrifices, and also to be remembered in war, and said the Creator will save you. Like you, it's like implying you can't do this on your own. You can't win this fight without the Creator. But what I find um, interesting, and I neglected to speak on it when I talk about the menorah, I use the word mikshah, all right? And mikshah, they tend to use it as an acronym um, for a lot of the areas. Could spell mem, kuf, noon, and hey. So when it uses mikshah, the mem would be for the menorah, the kuf, some people say kuf, would be for the sacrifice of the korbanos. Then you have the sheen for the shekalim, and then you have hakodesh for the new moon. These are some areas where Moshe had a difficulty trying to imagine how to do this. And from the word mikshah, to be beaten, comes from the word kosher, which means to be difficult. So you just drop the mem, and you got kosher, which means something that's difficult, hard to do. And so each one of those letters will represent some of the most difficult facets in dealing with the Mishkan and dealing with our worship. Because now, say, even today, and it's words here, but I'm not going to speak much on the menorah because it was fashion, the word that's used is really unique. And also, how do you half shekel really should look? How big should a half shekel look? Means it's a weight, and how should it be designed? Or even how would a half shekel be enough to atone for a human being's soul? And which was the purpose of it being used as a half shekel and not even a whole shekel. And one of the things when it comes down to the Kodesh, the Rosh Kodesh, we had that controversy today. Do we deal with the first crescent, or we deal with the disc, that little sliver of light all the way around, as opposed to the first crescent? I mean, do we call that the new moon, or do we wait till the first crescent come in? So those were difficult. These are things that Moshe couldn't guess at. Moshe had to know, and also the Kohanim had to know. And only the Kohanim is the ones that blow those those trumpets, the silver trumpets, what you call, kasarot, for the silver trumpets. And now we're gonna go into let me see. I like to go into the same chapter, but I'm gonna skip on down from there, from the different guys that stand up as how they move out to the 29th verse of that same chapter, 10th chapter.
Verse 29 reads, "And Moses said unto Hobab, the son of Reuel the Midianite, Moses' father-in-law, we are journeying unto the place of which Yahweh said, I will give it you. Come thou with us, and we will do thee good, for Yahweh has spoken good concerning Israel. And he said unto him, I will not go, but I will depart to mine own land and to my kindred. And he said, Leave us not, I pray thee, for as much as thou knowest how we are to encamp in the wilderness, and thou shalt be to us instead of eyes."
All right, stop it there. It's important. Why would they want a man when we just read that the Creator has to cloud and lead us where we need to go? Why do Moses insist on his father-in-law hanging out with us? And also not just hanging and coming along with the ride, but also saying you could be as eyes for us, like a guide for us. When we got the God you know, I mean, of all guys, because it's nowhere where the Creator had not been. So it's places where Yithro have not been. I hope that, you know, most father have not been. But Moses speaking to Jethro to hang with him, with his father-in-law to hang with him, which has another name as well. So, but and I want to focus on this point that, you know, he's also referred to with several names in the and he's called it, and he's a Midianite, and this is going to come up later on when I speak on the last portion of this here particular Sidra. But one of the things to say is that here's a man that blessed the Creator, the God of heaven and earth, for what he did for us. Not what he did for him, but what he did for us. And Moses had some rough times with the people, you know, and being having these rough times with the people, it's like, all right, the Creator never did nothing special for you. And you acknowledge him that great. And you gave me some good advice about how to be able to legislate, you know what I mean, certain, you know what I mean, responsibilities, right? So Moses, you know, really appreciate him. But we're going to just go just a little bit more into, and even we went to Bible and said, and it should be, if thou go with us, yea, it should be that what good soever the Lord shall do it to us, the same we will do unto thee. Saying, look here, you'll benefit from this. If we get any good, you'll get something out of this. Now, normally, what don't happens in our law? A stranger do not inherit land. You know what I mean? So Moses promises something about an inheritance because we're supposed to get a certain inheritance, but yet if you're not, you know what I mean, an Israelite, though you might be the seed of Abraham, and you know, and that way you might say, okay, I can squeeze you in under the premise that you're a descendant of Abraham, but a stranger may rent land in Israel, but they cannot buy land in Israel. And some countries now trying to stay from being exploited by, you know, certain other countries because they say you can't buy no land or property here unless you are, you know, a native of this country. Because I know many years ago I was going to Jamaica, and then when I went to Jamaica, at the hotel I was at, the guys come, they say, we can't stay on the shore. I said, what? You can't come on the beach? They said, no, man, we get locked up. We come on the beach. And it's a hotel. It's a big old stretch of beach, so beach land. They swim out and go to the rocks and go way on the other side, but they won't step on shore too much because they don't want to get arrested. And you find so many other people buying up land and property in other countries, and then they secure it. So it'd be a subtle conquest in some of the more what they consider, for the lack of a better term, third world countries, where outsiders would be buying up property, and then they secure their property. And one of the, you know, and that's, you know, instead of conquering and fighting, say, I purchased this. This is mine. I do what I want with it, and I don't want this kind of people on it. You know, a person have a right to defend their property. So a lot of countries don't sell property to outsiders. So now Moses promising his father-in-law, you know, whatever good the Creator do for him, you got that, even to the land, which is the most valuable thing that we could have. All right. Now we're gonna we're gonna skip right down to the 35th verse in that same chapter.
Verse 35 reads, and it came to pass when the ark set forward that Moses said, raise up, O Yehovah, and let thine enemies be scattered, and let them that hate thee flee before thee. And when it rested, he said, return, O Yehovah, unto the 10,000s of the families of Israel.
Okay, so let me get that verse here. Just one moment. let me see. What was that? 11? 10. What was it? 10. 2 4. All right, 10:35. Okay. All right. Now, that particular line that they have, in most Hebrew books you find it's written, it's blocked off with parentheses. So some people looked at it as like 2 different books. You know what I mean? You know, when the rest says, normally when in most synagogues they say, "Wahi when asom Haron, where your man Moshe Kumar Adonai, where your fuso Veaka, where nuso Misaneka, mi paneaka," and then when it rested, they come back and say the other one. But 35th verse of the chapter, and it goes on to the 36th verse. They look at that as 2 different books. Now, that's how traditionally have, and that's the only part where it be a bracket in the Hebrew text, where it opens at one end and closes at the other end. Those 2 verses are supposed to be considered 2 different books. And you say, well, okay, when it say, "Arise up, O Lord," when they get ready to set out, and let your enemies be scattered, then we know that we ain't doing the fighting. We know that the Creator is going to get Moses praying that anybody that's just opposition to God and His plan, that let them be dispersed. He didn't even say destroy. He just said let them be dispersed. That's a little bit merciful, And then it goes on to say, and when he rested, it says, "Return, O Lord, unto the 10,000 of the families of Israel." He said, "Why return? Because we need you. We don't want you to be out there and you're not over here with us." So that's why before they even pull out the scroll in most traditional synagogues, they say that, let the Creator go before me, to scatter any enemies that hate you, because I'm with you. And then while you out there, and I'm trying to follow and keep up with you, when the ark sit down and you say, "This is where I'm gonna be at," then the ark is no good without you being here with us. So we need you in our midst. And because that's the purpose of us building the tabernacle itself, that we need you in our midst. So yes, it's good for you to go out there and take care of business against those that, but we don't want you to be off handling that. And we figure we don't need you. We need you. We want you in our midst. So that's one of the major prayers. And they look at it, and it's in the bracket like that in the book. And what's interesting is that it's a certain tradition that's taken from that those 2 verses, the 35th verse and the 36th verse, have 85 letters in it. And according to some tradition, those that walks around with this scroll in the various synagogues, is that if a Torah scroll got at least 85 clear printed words, they consider that, lack of a better word, kosher. You can fix it up from there. You can work with it from there because of these particular lines that's mentioned here. And I figured I just wanted to bring that out and share that for those that might follow that certain tradition and those that might wonder why they use that particular phrase in a prayer, that it may not follow that tradition. All right, now we're going to the 11th verse. I'm just going to step it up a little bit more. 11th chapter, sorry.
11th chapter. Numbers chapter 11, verse 1. And the people were as murmurers, speaking evil in the ears of Yehudah. And when Yehudah heard it, his anger was kindled, and the fire of Yehudah burnt among them and devoured in the uttermost part of the camp. And the people cried unto Moses, and Moses prayed unto Yehudah, and the fire abated. And the name of the place was called Tabirah, because of the fire of Yehudah burnt among them.
Okay, right there. That's good enough. Let's stop right there. That's good enough. All right. Normally, a murmur means, we used to say it and teach years ago, that a murmur is that you're wrong, you ain't sure if you're going, what you will need to say, and you don't want people to understand what you're saying, so you grumble and mumble. But if you're sure what you're going to say and articulate it, but it said the Lord, they murmured against the Lord, and he heard it, and whatever it was serious enough that the Creator said, "I'm gonna kill a few people." So we don't know exactly what was stated here. So sometimes, even when we, as parents, when that child, you say, "Go ahead, take care of so and so, take the garbage out." What you say, boy? I didn't say nothing. No, you growled. You remember, so we don't like it as parents. So this is it's an interesting thing, because it says his anger was kindled, and they're speaking evil in the ears of the Creator, but the Creator understood, because he know the hearts of a man, and that's what there's intention of. But start off saying they murmur. We're going to go into the fourth verse of the same chapter.
Verse 4, and it reads, "And the mixed multitude that was among them fell a lusting. And the children of Israel also wept on their part and said, well, that we were given flesh to eat. We remember the fish which we were wont to eat in Egypt for naught, the cucumbers and the melons and the leeks and the onions and the garlic. But now our soul is dried away. There is nothing at all. We have naught save this manna to look to." Now,
right. Just before we're going to stop right there before we go to 7. All right. Now, we've taken up the cause of the wrongdoer instead of picking up the cause of the righteous individual. We're taking up the cause of the wrongdoer, and it said the ramblers. They don't even use the word Arab Arab. You know what I mean? They used another word here. I think I wrote it down here without going back too far. In here when they used the term for Wahasasuf. That's they use that word there for them. Which is just ramblers. But that's the people that was non-Israelites. So non-Israelites got us in trouble 2 times. The guy's in trouble with the sin of the golden calf, right after the Creator spoke with us. And now we're getting in trouble again because we're going to fight their battles. And who we fighting their battles against? The Creator. So how can we win? And this is right after people had already died. Right afterwards. So we definitely are stiff-necked and hard-headed people. But it goes on further.
It reads, verse 6.
6, yeah. 7, picking up 7.
Verse 7. Now the manna was like coriander seed, and the appearance thereof as the appearance of bdellium. The people went about and gathered it and ground it in mills, or beat it in the mortars, and seethed it in pots, and made cakes of it. And the taste of it was as the taste of cake baked with oil.
Okay.
And when the dew fell upon the camp in the night, the manna fell upon it. And Moses heard the people weeping, family by family, every man at the door of his tent. And the anger of Yehudah was kindled greatly, and Moses was displeased.
Okay. Before we get to that, all right, the Creator is hot with him, angry, and Moses is also angry with him. And one of the strangest things now, people just had died already, and about fire, and they're gonna murmur because of somebody else, and then they're gonna talk about how good they had in Egypt. How could they get the leeks, the garlics, and all that other stuff so freely when the Egyptians would not even give them straw to make bricks? So sometimes people exaggerate their conditions because we had to go out in the field, which was an Egyptian job, and get the straw that the Egyptians used to bring us to make bricks. So if they wouldn't give us straw and want us to keep the same tally, how do we go ahead and go to the stream and say we ate freely the leeks and the garlic? and stuff, and all we got is this manna. So now they're talking against the food, so it's unappreciative because they already murmured for bread 30 days after, within the 30-day period after they had left Egypt, and now they're displeased with the bread. They're displeased with the food that the Creator had. Could the Creator provide a table in the wilderness? And he spread the table, and the food had several qualities in it. It looks good, it tastes good, it has a nice fragrance, and you could do whatever you want. You could bake it, you could eat it like it is, or you could boil it. So you had a lot to do it. And plus, if the Creator giving you food, then that is healthy through and through. But this is our people. And 11 verse it says,
verse 11 reads, and Moses said unto Yehovah, wherefore hast thou dealt ill with thy servant? And wherefore have I not found favor in thy sight, that thou layest the burden of all this people upon me? If I conceived all this people, if I brought them forth, that thou shouldest say unto me, carry them in thy bosom, as a nursing father carried the sucking child unto the land which thou didst swear unto their fathers? When shall I have flesh to give unto all this people? For they trouble me with their weeping, saying, give us flesh that we may eat. I am not able to bear all this people myself alone, because it is too heavy for me. Okay, now I'm going to have to stop here. I'm going to be able to stay in this because I want to get to the last part of Miriam. But I'm just going to bring out some points. And maybe next time I get a chance to talk on some points in between it. One of the areas is that, sometimes you got to watch the company you keep. Mm-hmm. Because we had bad company and we pleading and complaining with the mixed multitude that's there about me and getting upset with the Creator about the manna. But it's so contagious that Moses started to complain. And that's something. He mad with them, but yeah, he got to complain now. So complaining begetting complaining, because Moses is already affected by the complaints of the people that he complaining to God himself. So that's really show you that you got to watch who you be around, and you got to watch who can influence you, because Moses is a patient individual, as we're going to read right here. We're going straight to the 12th chapter, but those that read it before, like I said, I'm just going to highlight some points, but I can't highlight every point. But I'm just going to go in this particular chapter here because I find it, since it concludes this particular Sidra here, that it's interesting that complaints don't just stay abroad. It comes right back home sometime. All right. So you begin the 12th chapter of Numbers. Chapter 12 of the book of Numbers, it reads, and Miriam and Aaron spoke against Moses because of the Cushite woman whom he had married, for he had married a Cushite woman. And they said, has Yehovah indeed spoken only with Moses? Has he not spoken also with us? And Yehovah heard it. Hold right now there, before you get to the third verse. All right, because a lot of stuff is here. Now, first of all, we know Miriam was older than Aharon. We know that much. But we also know that her name preceded his, and the word that's used in Hebrew is wetaber, so it's in the singular, but yet we see that as Miriam and Aaron spoke against Moses concerning the Cushite women. Now, the Cushite women, most traditions, and I spoke with other teachers, teachers about it, and most rabbinic tradition, one side of it, rabbinic tradition say this is the woman Zipporah, and the reason I don't hold to that particular position. I hold to the position that this is actually another woman altogether, not Zipporah, and I focus on when I said about Moses' father-in-law, and it gives his identity, where not in the beginning when we talk about
Jethro was a priest of Midian, which most people use as saying he's not saying he's a Midianite. But here, as we read, that he is a Midianite. And when you go into the book of Judges, the first chapter of Judges, and I think around the 11th verse, it describes those same people as Kenites and Midianites, Moses' father-in-law. So they're not Cushites. And what and I spoke in the past that most people like the chronological thing of 40 years in Egypt, 40 years in Midian, and we know the last 40 years he did with us in the wilderness as we exodus out. But 40 years in Egypt, we don't know when he left Egypt, when he had to leave, and where he went after he left. And we know he wound up leaving from Midian to go back to Egypt. But we don't know what he did in that in-between time, in the meantime. Of some other writers and other historians would say that, that he did when he left Egypt, the first place he went was Ethiopia, who was really hostile to the Egyptians, pretty much so. Instead of Midian, which would be close and more confederate with Egypt. And we know that historically, and according to the book of Josephus, that he actually, as a general, fought against the Ethiopians and on behalf of the Egyptians. But some say he went to Ethiopia first. In other books, they say he went to Ethiopia first. But one thing for sure, that the books identify Moses' father-in-law, even though he has several different names, as a Midianite, several other places other than just, we're using the conjecture that he was just a priest of Midian. And we live in a time of polygamy where a man might have more than one wife. So one of the things in another mainstream story, even amongst rabbinics, they say that this woman, he never consummated, the marriage. He just was married with her, I guess as we would say today, on paper, but never no physical, no conjugal relationship with her at all. So that's why I wanted to focus on this point to clear up the identity of Jethro or Moses' father-in-law being a descendant of Abraham as opposed to a descendant of Ham himself. And we read about the Kenites not only in the Judges, the first chapter, I think around about maybe 11 verse, something like that. But I think 4:11, they also mentioned about the same family, Moses' father-in-law, people that was cool with the adversary. But yet the wife of this individual slayed Sisera later on, whose name was Yael. So these are related people. We also know from the time of Samuel that, and this was another thing, just for people to do research, is why I'm speaking on this, is that in the book of Samuel, that Saul, the first king of Israel, he also showed favor to the Kenites and told them, look here, I'm getting ready to fight some Amalekites. And y'all better get up out of there, for I had to slay you with them. So he said, because he remembered the kindness you showed us when we left Egypt. So if he say, I remember the kindness you showed us when we left Egypt, what kindness Jethro did? He gave Moses some advice. So that's in the book of Samuel. So those are some of the things that why I hold to my position about it's another woman and not Zipporah. And with the rabbinical thing, they like to make it fit a little bit better. With the 40. All right. So any questions, direct it, you could direct that to me, in the comments. But anyway, if it's talk about what the woman have to do with God speaking with them, that's number one. If it's about the woman, then why would you bring about God then only spoke to Moses, he spoke with us. And said to create a herd. And we can pick it up just from the next verse there.
Verse 3.
Right.
Now, the man Moses was very meek above all the men that were upon the face of the earth. And
Okay.
Yehoah spoke suddenly unto Moses and unto Aaron and unto Miriam, come out ye three unto the tent of meeting, and they three came out. And Yehoah came down in a pillar of cloud and stood at the door of the tent and called Aaron and Miriam, and they both came forth.
Okay, hold right there. This is a very important point right here I'd like to stop at. Because when the Creator heard, it didn't say Moses heard. And if he did hear, it didn't matter. You know, but it said the Creator heard this here. And it said, and the Lord spoke suddenly unto Moses and to Aaron and unto Miriam, come out ye three unto the tent of meeting. Now, this is a different locale. This ain't talking about actually, you know, in front of the Mishkan itself. It's it's Moses' other tent that he had for secular meetings. All right, so now when we read about this here particular point here, it says, and it describes Moses as the meekest man. So out of all the qualities, people think it's he's humble, but meekness is not weakness; it's strength under control. Like I say often, the thing is that if you know you got the ability, you don't play it down. If you know your ability is there, you state, this is what I'm able to do. And Moses wasn't so meek where when the Creator was going to destroy us after the golden calf, he said, look, if you don't forgive them, block me out the book. That don't sound like a chump. That don't sound like he's scared. That don't sound like he's timid. He getting ready to put his life on the line for the nation of Israel. Say, if you don't forgive them, block me out the book. But the Creator had to let them know that this is my book. This is not your book. So now, the next thing, what they said about the woman, you know, and what they said concerning the marriage, we don't know. So we don't even know what the issue is. And what that has to do with them talking about the Creator commune with them and communicate with them. So let's go on from there just a little bit. Okay, let me pick it up for you.
Verse
5.
Verse 5. And Yehoah came down in the pillar of cloud and stood at the door of the tent of meeting and called Miriam, and they both came out.
All right. That means that he didn't call Moses at this point.
Right.
They're all there, but this is only for them two to hear right now. Only Aharon and Miriam. Go ahead.
And he said, hear now my words, if there be a prophet among you, I, Yehoah, do make myself known unto him in a vision. I do speak with him in a dream. My servant Moses is not so. He is trusted in all my house. With him do I speak mouth to mouth, even manifestly, and not in dark speeches. And the similitude of Yehoah doth he behold. Wherefore then were ye not afraid to speak against my servant, against Moses?
All right, now what's so important is this here. Moses don't hear what's going on.
And God is speaking
now,
to you face
yeah,
to face.
the Creator gonna speak to you now like he talked to Moses, but you don't want to hear what he got to say.
Right.
All right. However, you got that vision in the past, you was getting visions. You know what I mean? Whatever the visions you got, that's what you got from the Creator then. But now, since you think you're on that same level as Moses, I'm gonna really talk to you, but you won't like what I got to say. You know, and this is really paramount because now this the rare time, other than Mount Sinai, where the whole nation heard God speaking from the mountain and lived. All right. Now, Aaron hearing this voice again, and Miriam hearing this voice again, but not the way they had revelations before. And it's a scolding voice. So you don't want to hear the Creator speak to you when you upset him. That's for sure. But let's pick it up just from there a little bit.
It reads, with him I speak mouth to mouth. Verse 9, and the anger of Yehoah was kindled against him, and he departed. And when the cloud was removed from over the tent, behold, Miriam was leprous, as white as snow. And Aaron looked upon Miriam, and behold, she was leprous. And Aaron said,
Stop it before we get to there. All right. Now, after the Creator said what he said, All right. And he left. Imagine, the Creator still wasn't satisfied. He still was hot. That's one of the few times that you read about the Creator come down and scold the individual and then leave and say, he's still angry after he left, after he talked to us, he's still hot. He wasn't even satisfied with what he had to say concerning Moses. Now, that is paramount. And you say, well, it shouldn't have been no big deal. You say, well, they really wanted authority equal to Moses or outshine Moses. And so much so, the Creator said, you didn't see what he saw. You didn't do what he did. And I'm upset with you just for talking about him. And after he do what he do to Miriam, the Creator is still upset. Read a little bit.
Verse.
All right, white snow and
11, verse 11.
Right.
And Aaron said unto Moses, O my Lord, lay not, I pray thee, sin upon us, for that we have done foolishly, for that we have sinned. Let her not, I pray thee, be as one dead, of whom the flesh is half consumed when he cometh out of his mother's womb.
All right, hold on before we go to the 13th verse. Before we go to the 13th verse. All right. One, all right, Aaron recognized his position because he called Moses Adon. So he don't think of him as equal. And some say, well, how come Aaron didn't get hit with leprosy? If he was part of it. All right. If he was part of it, why he didn't get hit with leprosy? You know, so one of the things, you know, we look at is that not only the verb they was talking was in the singular, and it'd be for the feminine, but when you listen to bad talk, you almost condoning the bad talk when when somebody has slandered somebody, you know. So they say, yeah, you know. So you take parcel to that, because when it's unwarranted, now there's a difference in the testimony now. And so I don't want people to get to say, well, I can't testify about thus and thus and thus and thus. That's a whole nother story, a whole nother lane. But I'm saying bad talk to slander and belittle somebody, and you take part of it and say, okay, the only reason talk gonna be any good is because you gotta have a hearer, gotta have a listener, you know. And then you got to say, okay, Aaron himself was part parcel to that incident. But why he didn't get hit with leprosy? Two things I always teach in reference to that and share with people, you know, as I came up and I was taught. That one, he still had the anointing oil on him. Knowing that's the high priest. That's number one. Number two, you see Aaron had a slight area of repentance. Because he said, we had sinned. You didn't hear anything from Miriam. You heard something from Aaron, but not from Miriam, about we had sinned. And plus, who recognized leprosy and was able to call somebody as being Zurishaddai? A priest. I could call it, but I can't do nothing for you. So now, everybody know when a person gets hit with Zurishaddai, leprosy in the scriptures, the priest can't do nothing for you. The best he could do is pray. There's no ointment or nothing he could rub on the spot or anything like that. And drop this on you and throw that on you. You know, you're on your own with yourself and the Creator. So you better be praying, and hopefully the priest praying for you. But Aaron know he messed up too. And since he messed up, and he know that the Creator left angry with him as well, I'm in the wrong guy to try to petition now. God's part parcel to this crime. So now we read in the last few things here, it says that
verse 13, verse. And Moses cried unto Yehudah and said, heal her now, O God, I beseech thee. And Yehudah said unto Moses, if her father had but spit in her face, should she not hide in shame 7 days? Let her be shut up without the camp 7 days. And after that she shall be brought in again. Miriam was... And Miriam was shut up without the camp 7 days, and the people journeyed not till Miriam was brought in again.
Okay, all right. Now, and then afterwards, the people journeyed from
And
Hazeroth.
afterward, people journeyed from Hazeroth and pitched in the wilderness of Param. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Now, I just want to speak on this last few lines that was spoken on, a few verses that was spoken on. All right. The shortest prayer, everybody focus that and know that's the shortest prayer that Moses ever said in the book, and talking about healing now, and so, and then, you say, well, why he didn't pray longer than that? Why didn't he pray as strong like he prayed for the people? He prayed for us for 40 days and 40 nights after the sin of the golden calf. Now, this is blood. This is family. You wonder if Moses was still upset with the situation too, and just really didn't say nothing? Or could it be that if Moses prayed so hard for her, people would say, look, this is king, that's blood. He look out for her harder than he look out for the children of Israel. Because just when it came to the thing I skipped over with the quails, when God slew the fattest amongst them while the flesh was still between their teeth, you didn't read when Moses prayed for them. You read when Moses prayed for them when the fire hit them and was consuming them. He prayed for them then. But he didn't pray for them when they ate the quail and the quail was between their teeth and the Creator slew the fattest amongst them. He didn't pray for them then. Why? There's always, one viewpoint is that you already complain. And plus, Moses is guilty of complaining too. So two complainants, he said, I better stay out of this mess. That's one viewpoint, that the people complain about flesh, and Moses complained about providing the people with flesh. And we know later on he had people to help him with that burden. But then, and we know about the El Dad, Medad, which is another story I'll speak on another time. But but when it gets down to this here area with his sister, that's a short prayer. And not only a short prayer, say her leprosy, it didn't say she was contagious. It's just that she was put to shame, because spitting on somebody don't make you unclean, unless they was unclean and they spit on you. Now, if a leper might spit on you or something like that, then you become unclean. But somebody else spitting on you don't make you unclean unless they happen to be unclean. I mean, it's disrespectful, humiliating. And the Creator said, look, if a father would just spit in her face, would she be shamed 7 days? Put out. That's it. So that you know, the Creator is still upset with this situation. He left upset. Moses plead, and the Creator, and then Moses is in a good standing with the Creator, and yet the Creator said, "Look, put out." So with that, we gotta watch sometimes what we say concerning people, because we don't know the actual status with the Creator. And I hope we got something out of what I said. Any mistakes by my own, and any comments, in reference to what I said, I didn't explain too well, then you could leave your comments in the chat. But only about those things I said. Anything else, I might not address that. With that, I thank the brothers of D.C.B platform, that I'm on. And like I said, I greet you all. Shalom Aleichem, and early Shabbat Shalom, and support the D.C.B network.
Before you go, I have a question for you. It's more like
yes.
It's off topic. It's about within our community, we have people that won't say the word God. They say it's a Greek word, and it doesn't represent the name of our God. I mean, I still say the word God. So, in replacing, sometimes in the Tanakh, some people say Elohim, which is understandable, which is El, for all intent and purposes means power, right?
Right.
But sometimes, and even sometimes, I find myself saying, my Yah, right? Or my Yah, my Yah, right? And I was thinking about it today, and I was like, well, while I was driving, and I said, if I say my Yah, then there could be, that could leave the opening to think that there is another Yah. Am I correct in thinking that way, or am I just thinking too much?
Well, sometimes we sometimes we overthink certain positions, and one of the things is that using the word God is not a problem because every language has some commonalities. That's number one. And then we read the terms about Ba'ali and Ishi in the book, where we refer to the creator. And there's only one tetragrammaton he used, but I was speaking to a brother earlier today about the same topic, about in the name of the creator, the tetragrammaton, the Yod Wah, that he said as his name is, but his memorial will be, to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob.
Right.
That I don't find a problem using the word God, because I speak English. And and I'm speaking in the language that people understand. Just like we have the book of Esther, mostly a lot of Aramaic in the book of Esther. So we don't have a problem with that. A lot of the same brothers say Abba, and Abba is Aramaic. Ab is actually Hebrew, but now we adapt it into the Hebrew language. A lot of brothers say kosher. Kosher is Yiddish, but the word is kashir in Hebrew. So to be nitpicking on something like that, I was telling the brother earlier today when we were speaking on the subject about a yea, I will be that I will be. Right. And where the translation is I am that I am is a real weak translation, because that means you're limited. And if you will be that you will be, it's more of unlimited power. And I mentioned that the creator didn't swear by his name, but he said, I swear by myself, because a name limits the individual and it characterizes the individual. That's why the creator said, I lift up my hand and say, I swear by myself, wherever that self is. And one of the things I even went further to express is that the creator created wisdom. He didn't need wisdom. So when he created wisdom and knowledge and understanding, that was for us. That wasn't for him.
Right.
So he didn't need that, because then, so, and we read in the Proverbs every week that wisdom stood on the sideline playing around. So the creator didn't need it. So the kind of concept that we have of our creator is what's more important, because we have to say something concerning him and try to identify him and make him unique compared to everybody else. But even in our words, we say, if we had the words of, if a mouth had all the words of the sea or whatever, we still couldn't describe him or say enough. If we can't praise him enough, then the name is just, a small thing, and especially in English. And we come up here learning English, and a lot of people have a rough time understanding English words now. That's why most of us have dictionaries.
Okay. Torah about Nasik. Oh, also the next question is regarding the second Pesach. So what if that same person becomes unclean again?
Well, you better pray hard, because the one thing's being cut off. You're cut off from the people, but you're never cut off from God. Only one I mentioned that before in other Sidras when they talk about the word Zar, which is Zion Resh, which is a stranger. When it comes to a priest, he could be cut off from being a priest, function as a priest again. And that's what it means, cut off from God. And it's the only time you read where somebody's actually cut off from the creator, is being able to operate as a mediator between the creator and mankind. And that's the priest. But other than that, you only cut off from your people. So you have a chance to try to pray hard to the creator and try to get back in grace. Hence, that's why Hezekiah said that prayer for them centuries later. Said perhaps the creator, will forgive us. And then he prayed for the people that was unclean, even at the second Pesach, which we have in the history in the Chronicles of I think Second Chronicles around 29th chapter, somewhere along that with King Hezekiah. So, you know, you cut off from the people, but you ain't cut off from the Creator. So you could pray, and hopefully the Creator will bring you back in the fold and make you be back to the people. And one of the things when Miriam got cut off and set down, it caused the people to hold up their progress too as well. So we all is supposed to be, you know, we all affect one another in some fashion or form.
Hallelujah. Torah Abba, once again, thanking you, Nasik, for your for the wisdom that the Most High God has blessed you with, and for blessing us on this platform with your understanding. I pray that the Most High God will continue to be with you and bless you, keep you safe, and that He will protect you from all harm seen and unseen. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Torah Abba.
Blessed be. Shalom, shalom.
Shalom.